All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to our session, ERP Integration Framework for Sitecore Commerce. As you all know, in most e-commerce implementation, ERP integration plays a very important role. Most retailers spend years in building their robust fulfillment systems and want to keep using them. Most e-commerce platforms like Sitecore Experience Commerce helps customers to enter into the much-needed digital commerce space, but it needs integration with the ERP to complete the transactions. Fortunately, with the Sitecore Experience Commerce plugin architecture, integrating with any ERP platform has become much easier. In this session, we will show you how we build an open platform, open framework to integrate Sitecore Experience Commerce with ERP using plugin architecture, OData-based commerce authoring API, and medians. My name is Suresh Devanan, President and CEO of Nishtec and a four-time Sitecore MVP.
Hi, my name is Himadri Chakrabarti. Happy to be here. I am also four-time MVP and as I said, looking at familiar faces here. Thanks.
A little background about Nishtec. In Nishtec, a Sitecore Gold implementation partner, is an enterprise technology and a digital agency. We are specialized in implementing marketing technology and e-commerce platforms. We are based in Cincinnati, Ohio, in the United States. We are system integrators with over 10 years of experience implementing and integrating with several different ERP platforms like Oracle, Dynamics AX, pretty much all the Infor ERPs, JD Edwards, AS400, and Great Plains. We have been also developing Sitecore e-commerce solutions from the beginning. How many of you know CFE, Sitecore e-commerce Fundamental Edition?
Know of its existence.
I have one person raise the hand. So CFE, like back in the old days, Sitecore, the first e-commerce platform that Sitecore, released was CFE. That's back in 2011, I believe. So Nishtec has been developing Sitecore e-commerce solutions with CFE, SES, Sitecore e-commerce services, SEEE, OBEC, and Commerce Connect. E-commerce integration is a bi-directional coordination between a company e-commerce site and a back-end accounting and ERP system. Proper integration enables the handshake between the two systems, meaning data is in sync and only needs to be entered into one system. Why are we building this framework? Almost all e-commerce systems need integration with the back-end system. Having a scheduled refresh jobs like product refresh, customer refresh, inventory refresh, etc., will reduce manual entry and also save time and increase throughput while reducing the human errors. Streamline inventory synchronization tracks updates and provide accurate inventory data to the customers while without hiring staff to manage these complex tasks. When you have a situation like your connection drops between your ERP and your e-commerce systems and your order submit fails, the order submit integration fails. Now with the integration framework, the business user have an opportunity to resubmit the order without contacting IT. Automatically notify customers when the order is shipped, allowing the customers to track their delivery of their products. Integration with an ERP simplifies how you manage the price and product changes. What is an integration framework? Bringing together the common data entities like customer, product, pricing, inventory, etc., the common operations like product refresh, pricing refresh, updating inventory, etc., and different third-party applications like ERP, PIM, CRM, using an API or direct connection is an integration framework. Integration framework is repeatable and extendable for your client projects. Most important, this will accelerate your development. What does this integration framework provide? It provides a common interface, and a job scheduler business tool. A common interface for integration will.
So I want to point out that the framework we built is actually having a common interface, which is most important part, because this is actually the extension point for the consumer of the framework. So this is where we will be actually extending the framework. For example, you want to load some data like product data. So framework actually provides the hook and the interface so that you can write your code, because there will be different kinds of ERP. So as you can imagine that the way you will pull the data from SXC will be different from Oracle. So this is where the common interface comes into help. Basically, it helps the developer to extend and jumpstart the integration. It gives a guideline, like, a certain way to do things, so best practices and things. And then it is actually a reusable interface. So someone builds something they can share with the community, and someone else can actually use it. Also, there is there's things like, that we built in this framework, which actually helps the business user to use the framework. So you want to empower the business user so that they can actually configure the integration and using the business tools.
So this framework provides a job scheduler business tool. Like Sitecore Commerce comes with business tools like for merchandising, customer management, all those things. So we build this framework in the same business tool so that you can configure several things. The first step is to build a job connection. So what's a job connection? It stores information required to connect to the backend systems.
Right. So we'll be showing more of it in the coming slide. And basically, job connection is something that defines what system you are going to connect to. Like if it is a SQL server, you need SQL server connection string. If it is a web service, you need the web service URL. So those kind of things are defined in the job connection.
The next is you create a job. So job stores information about the job to be run, kind of like data refresh, product refresh, order submit.
Yeah, so the important part in a job is kind of a definition of a job. What I want to do, I want to pull data from the SQL server. So it will contain, you can add your select query in the job. It will have recurrence, information, you want to run this job, say every night at 12, pull the product data or something, so you can set it up to run every day, certain time, things like that will be in the job. Those information will be in the job.
So the next is you create a job instance. The job instance is like, when do you want to run the job? What is the scheduled time? Do you want to run a nightly, or do you want to do an on-demand, or do you want to resubmit it? And so it allows the business user to go and define their scheduling based on their business needs. There will be situations where they will be making product changes in the middle of the day, and they cannot wait till the next scheduled job to run. So they can come to the business tool and do an on-demand product refresh. So they're doing pricing changes. They cannot wait till the pricing to get updated in the nightly job. So they can come and do that. So same thing, the inventory, you can have a real-time inventory or a refresh, scheduled refresh jobs. You can also view the status of the job by whether it's a queued or it's failed or is it succeeded, and define the start and end time of the job.
Yeah, so So job instance is just a specific instance of that job. Okay, it can happen through the recurrence or it can be on demand, and basically it has a scheduled time, it runs at that time, and then initially starts as a queued job. Every job is queued, and then when the job runs, it either be successful or a failure. And there are other information like when it ran, how long it took, so those kind of information will be there. It's kind of a job history also.
Cool. So just to back up again, so to define the job scheduler, you have to define the job connection first, and then you create the job, and then you build the job instance. So we build this Sitecore Business Tool. Again, this is just a mock-up right now. It's still work in progress. The idea is that it will be very similar to your business tool, and we just quickly put together using AngularJS to show you what the mock-up will look like. As you can see, you can define your job where you can specify your SQL connection. When you have direct access to your ERP, some ERP allows you to directly access to their SQL by just a simple SQL connection. Some ERP you have to connect through flat file processor. Some ERP you can connect through an API. So you can define all your job connections over there. And then you define what the jobs are. The customer refresh job, product pricing job. You can link job together too. And this framework will allow you to define these different jobs in here. And then and also define their instance, like when you can run the job, like whether you can run on-demand job or not. And all those things can be defined in the job instance for the job. And the job history will show you the runs, when did they run, did they fail, what was the reason for the failure is, and when it is scheduled to run, so you can view all those details.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, overall picture of what's going on at that time. And as you can see, like, history part, some jobs are queued, some job already ran and success. So there will be other screens which we are working on, so that will come soon.
And as I mentioned that, business user will have much more control here while they are working in the Sitecore Experience Commerce and while they're managing inventories and things like that. For a situation where, like mentioned in the earlier slide, the connection between the ERP and e-commerce system drops and the order submit fails, and they can view the job history if there's a failure. And there will be an option for them to resubmit the same order from this job scheduler interface so that they don't need to contact the IT or figure out why it happened, like find out what the logs are. They don't need to do that. They can just go here and select the job, select that particular order and resubmit that order. So that's the, this framework will provide that level of user interface.
All right. So now time to jump into the code. So the framework, there are basically two projects that, Visual Studio project that we will actually show you. So this is the framework, and there are many things in the framework. Just these are the main classes and objects that we want to talk about quickly, because this is what is mainly driving the framework. First of all, we talked a lot about the job connection, job, and job instances. Those are commerce entities. If you know Sitecore Commerce, basically customer, product, and everything are commerce entities. So we took the advantage of Sitecore architecture to create the job connection and all these things using the commerce entities. So we can use the same approach to create a job connection and things like that. We can actually create the relationship between them. The next thing is the pipelines. There are two kinds of pipelines. One that is to create, edit, or remove the job-related commerce entities. The other pipeline is actually the integration processor pipeline, which is the pipeline that will be used to extend the framework. So we will actually show some code there. And the last thing is actually a minion running. If you are familiar with Sitecore Commerce, minion is something that runs in the background and you can schedule it. So the job scheduler minion is the one that actually runs every certain time and looks at, like, is there any job queued? So it actually runs those jobs. So we take advantage of minion here. So you can see the minion list to watch is queued jobs. So there are lists. When we create the jobs, it actually add the queued jobs list in the job. And then the plugin is like, fully qualified name is the job minion, which actually kicks up every 5 minutes. And it looks at 10 items at a time. So that's what the minion does. So the other project is the integration processor. This is just a sample integration processor we added here, which is actually extending the framework. So I want to connect to my ERP and get the product or get the customer. Okay, so I write my own custom processor for that. We will show that in this case we are loading customer data. It can be product, it can be anything, it can be order. It's just another processor block we added in the integration processor projects. So this is a sample. So before we jump into the demo, I just want to go through the workflow and show you how it works. So when we go to the demo, we remember, like, how the workflow works. First of all, someone is going to create a job connection. It's a developer or business user. Probably developer will create the job connection in the business tool. Okay. So next, he or she will create a job using that job connection. So job is created. Now you can schedule the job either using recurrence or on demand. That when the job is created, it goes to the queue and wait for minion to kicks up. Job scheduler minion kicks up. And it goes through all the jobs and finds the jobs that are queued. Then job scheduler minion calls the integration processor pipeline, which is actually the hook. And in the framework, there are two blocks for that integration processor pipeline. First one is the start job block. That start job block actually collects all the information for the jobs that will be running and pass that information to the custom blocks. This is the one that the consumer of the framework will write, and the custom blocks will get all the job information from the start job block, and it looks at the connection string or, like, whatever in the job connection or information in the job, and it executes, and that loads the data or that submit the data that basically integrates with the ERP, and then it returns the job status, return back the job argument to finish job block, where framework takes over again and it finds out what is the status of the job. Is it a failure? Is it a success? So it adds that information to the job history. And that's what I just said, like, job status set to failure or success. So that's the workflow. Okay, so we are going to show a demo now. basically, as I said, like, for example, here we are loading the customer data from a ERP. So we really do not have a ERP. So we have a database, my fake ERP database, and there are like, 2 tables there. We'll be loading the data from there to Sitecore Commerce. So let's switch to the
Yeah, consider this as your, an ERP that has direct connection to your, and then you can use SQL connection string to access the database, the same concept.
Okay, so before we start, this is actually Sitecore Commerce Engine. We are going to show you the code and in the debug mode. Is it visible, or should I increase the? Good? A little bit more? You have?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll start from here. Basically, so when we start it, it will actually start and this mouse is jumpy. Okay, so first thing it does is actually it stops at the minion. Okay, and at this time there is no job queued, so it will just pass through and okay. So this is the website is running, and I just want to show you that there is no customer at this point. Hopefully this will come back quickly.
The demo is used to show how we refresh customer data, like from.
Is the second tab, is that the Commerce Minions Commerce Engine instance?
Yeah, that's actually Commerce Engine, the authoring.
One, or
sorry?
because you have several instances, you have the DevOps one and the Minions. That's the Minions one, right?
No, Minions is running in the background. This is just the commerce site.
Yeah,
So
this is like the business tools application, but
this is business tool.
the second tab.
No, this one is actually business tool running on the 4200.
I know, but the second tab.
Second tab is actually the commerce authoring service.
Okay, that's the authoring service.
Yes. So this is running on the 5000. Okay, so there is no customer here, and basically I have 2 tables, as I said, in my fake ERP, and this is the data, and there is 100 rows, but for this, we are loading some 10 rows because to make it faster. So first thing I'll do is actually create some job, and as we mentioned, we are still working on the business tool. So here we are going to show you the creation of the job connection and jobs and everything through the Postman. This is a great tool that we can use to do that. So first of all, these are the API that we built, and this is adding a job connection, and things that are important here is the name of the connection, and then the connection string, and if it is a flat file, you probably want to know what is the import folder, what is the archive folder, sort of things like that. If it is a web service, you want to know what the web service URL and things like that. So let's just create a job connection. I think, okay, so that worked. I was thinking that I need to authenticate again. So this is the job connection, and it's OK status. And then we'll create a job. So job is, the important thing in the job is, as I said, like, the SQL query, I'm getting select top row, 10 rows from the table. And there can be notification for the job. There can be recurrence information like start time, date time, end time, and things like that. So at that time, it will be scheduled. So let's create this job. Okay, this worked. This says that the job is created, and then we'll create an instance of the job. An instance of the job is actually where you put a schedule time, like, if it is a past date, and then if the status is queued, so it will be actually picked up by the minion. Okay, so job instance was created. Now we can check all those in the job connections. If we go here, it's showing me my job connection. So this is actually showing the job that I created and the job instance. So this is the job instance. So it's supposed to run this very soon. If not, I can actually stop it. That's perfect. So the 5 minutes is over. So minion actually kicked off and stopping in my code. So there are some breakpoints in the code. I'll go through that. So first thing to see is here, like, can it find. Okay, now you can see that list count is 1. That means it found my job instance. So it found the queued job. And if I continue, it stops here. Now it runs my integration processor pipeline. Okay, and when I continue, as I said, that first thing it does is actually start job block. It takes all the job scheduler argument and basically find those arguments and creates a job info argument and return that. So let's continue. Okay, so once it is done with the start job block, then it actually stops at the customer SQL processor block, which is that sample program I was talking about, the integration processor sample program, which basically loads the customer from the fake ERP database. So let's continue. It goes and get the data from the SQL server. And then it checks if the customer exists. If the customer doesn't exist, it adds the customer. If the customer exists, it pulls that data and basically edit the customer or update the customer. And now it went through all the data and landed in the job status where we set it success. And then I just put a breakpoint here to show you that you can add more than one, custom processor. This is just a flat file custom processor, but since the type is flat file and we are not using type flat file, it's actually SQL Server connection, so it will just keep that. And it stops at the stop job block where it actually sets the status of the block job and continue. So once that is done, it set the status, and now we should see those customers in the business tool. So these are the customers that I just loaded from my fake ERP database to here. And this has more information, like, this is the detail for the customer, and then this is the address of that customer. And you can go here and look at basically the address. So data is loaded. Now I can see just one more thing here, and let's see what is the status of this job was queued. Now if I send it back, you can see that the status of the job is now success. So that's pretty much how it works. And now, as you can imagine, like, instead of customer, you can load product or whatever, and you can write your own processor and hook to this, this framework. So that's the demo. And let's switch to the all right. Done here. And
So we are at time for question and answers now.
Thank you, guys. Anyone with questions?
Yeah, it's not ready yet. How far are you guys?
The business tools, it's probably a few more weeks. We should be able to have it ready.
And then we'll come with the Postman scripts.
Yeah. It's right now you can run this all in Postman scripts, but if you wanted to use business tools, then it's going to be a few weeks down the road. So we should be able to make it available.
yeah.
Other questions?
Yeah, how do you actually keep for example, the e-commerce, if you have, for example, a customer that gets an idea in the commerce engine, can you reuse your ID from your ERP system, or do you need to map that?
It's up to your business logic that you wanted to introduce for your e-commerce system, right? Like if the customers wants to keep the same keys to be used in the e-commerce system compared to the ERP, you can do that. Like in any ERP integrations, you have a ERP customer number and you have a commerce customer number, right? Sometimes they will be in sync, or sometimes it will be like they want to keep it separate because customer doesn't need to know what their ERP number is because they would be a customer ID. So it can be separate, and the way you can integrate, that's more of a mapping strategy that you want to come up with, right? Like you still have your customer record in your e-commerce system, but you can have an additional field that's want to tell you what your ERP number is so that when it integrates, you know which data you're integrating to. Yeah. Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Quiet group.
I think we need a couple of blocks how you actually, the Visual Studio solution,
Yes,
you actually extended that sample Visual Studio solution that comes out of the box with the SDK.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's we'll put a couple of more there. Yeah. So I mean, the thing is that in ERP integration, you can have data pool, or you can push data. So for example, order submit, you actually push the data to the ERP system. So I think it's good to have an example like that too. Okay. So that it shows all kinds of integration there. So.
Hello. Question regarding this bi-directional mode. Yeah. So you shown just read action. Yeah. So we can have a write job as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what about this situation? You mentioned it as well. So when for example, ERP system is offline or something, so we didn't manage to send this data to the system, to this ERP system. Yeah. So we will just create this job, and we will mark this job with some special status. Am I right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we actually mentioned a little bit about that. So in your case is actually order submit is a good example. So you want to push the order submit to the ERP system, but ERP system is offline, right? So the job will actually basically fail, okay, and it comes back with a failure status. So in that case, you can actually, when the ERP system is back, you can resubmit the job again. So you can create another instance of the job, or you can actually take that job or resubmit. There can be a resubmit functionality there too.
Do we need another queue to handle these
Yeah, basically,
failed jobs?
yeah, basically you put it back in the queue. So that's the control that business user will have. Like they can go and put it back in the queue. So that's the idea.
The website user, after they place the order, they would not see whether their order submit failed or anything like that because it is a separate process.
But you also need to extend, for example, the order entity.
Yeah.
Because you have to mark it, okay, this has already been submitted.
Exactly, like when it's already submitted, you will have to put a
You don't have
status.
to process it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you will put a status saying that this is in progress or submitted or something like that.
Yeah,
But
actually, Sitecore Commerce has already minion, like, pending order,
Yeah.
submitted order, right?
Yeah, but that's basically if somebody enters, submits an order through a SXA storefront website, then that order gets a status, but I mean, then it still is in the whole commerce engine order status, right?
Right. So
But that doesn't say anything about the status that it has been sent to the ERP system.
exactly. So it will show that that order didn't go through. So it is actually.
we can keep the separate status, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
for XSS storefront, whatever the status is, that's separate, but we can also keep a separate status, like integration status or something like that.
Exactly.
That would say that if it is submitted to ERP, it would call in a submitter. If it is not, it would say it failed or something like that. So the business user can come online and there would be an email notification sent to the business user and the IT saying that, hey, this order is failed. So they can come back and find out the reason, and they can use the business user tool to go find that order and have the idea is to have a button there, or you can use Postman or something to resubmit that order again.
Do you need to extend for example, that commerce engine order
Yes.
then with an extra field, or do they keep a hash table for that, for example, where you can say just a key value pair or something where you can actually say, okay, I'm going to extend it with a key, which is my integration status. How does that
What do you
work?
think, Himadri?
Yeah, it's
that an
more of a
extension?
more of a implementation approach that you will take. So the framework is providing you the option to actually do things in your way. So Sitecore Commerce has different status for the order. So if the order didn't go through, so you are going to set the order status to pending, like until it goes through. So, but the part here is that that this order didn't go through this. You can actually go there and look at in the business tool that this order didn't go through. So you can resubmit the order and it should pick up from there and it should send it again. And if it is successful, you set the order status to submitted. So
There should be a possibility to extend the order data, like schema or like on the table.
I know that's not part of your framework because that
Yeah.
should be an extension.
Extension for Sitecore
Right,
Commerce,
right.
yeah.
So,
I've got another question. Do you have some insights about the performance? You do some testing to put on the mouth.
Should give a red light.
out of the range.
Should give a red light.
Okay.
Yeah, we can repeat the question.
In different projects, we ran into problems with performance. So when you have a lot of updates, especially in the backend systems, and you have to bring a lot of products problems because every transaction takes a millisecond or a second.
Yeah.
And there were too many. Did you do some testing here, and do you have some insights what it can process, and how you can scale it?
Right, good question. The question was like, did we actually test the performance of this integration framework? Honestly, we have not tested it now, but we have plans to do that. One thing that is in our plan is actually working on the delta dataset. Delta dataset means that obviously first time if you are pulling, say, 10,000 products, you have to get that data in e-commerce. So that will take some time. Once the data is there, you do not want to pull all the data again and again. So you actually keep track of what is there and what data has changed. So basically that will create a delta data set, and it will only work on the data that needs to be updated in the e-commerce system.
Yeah, and then there's an answer of limiting the workload, but I'm interested in what is the capabilities of processing the workload. So this testing, this performance testing is quite interesting to know, and before you make a decision whether you're going to use it or not, I think that's crucial.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, basically, yeah, we will actually publish some result, and we will do some performance testing and see how that goes. So, yeah, thanks.
All right, what's next? This source code will be open sourced for the community to use. So we will publish the source code and additional materials so the community can take it and kind of like what you want to try, like you want to extend it, you want to add more features to it, so that way the rest of the community can use from it. So we will make it available within a few weeks. So, and you guys can actually take a look at the source code and the framework, how we built this one, and start using on your projects. Thank you for the opportunity here.
Thank you.